Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the Xylaxian Empire's flagship Stellar Dominance, his iridescent scales reflecting the soft purple glow of the command console. Before him, through the quantum glass viewport, stretched a sight that made his dorsal spines twitch with contempt. A fleet of what appeared to be primitive warships, hanging motionless in the void. "Preliminary scans complete, Admiral," announced Chief Science Officer Naira, her tentacles dancing across the holographic interface. The vessels appear to be of human origin, approximately 3 centuries old. Primary construction materials include steel alloys and carbon composites. She made no attempt to hide the disdain in her voice. The Admiral's vertical pupils narrowed. Humans, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely able to reach their own system's outer planets. These vessels shouldn't be here, over 30 light-years from Earth's solar system. 3 centuries. Vexthor's translator clicked as he processed this information. Impossible. Their civilization has only achieved rudimentary spaceflight within the last 50 years. The massive fleet before them stretched for kilometers, over 300 ships arranged in a precise geometric pattern. Their hulls were scarred but intact, bearing markings in human script that the ship's AI translated as United Earth Defense Force. "Sir," Naira continued, "the vessels show signs of what they would have considered advanced technology for their era. Nuclear fusion drives, railgun weapon systems, and primitive shield generators. Nothing that could possibly threaten a modern Xylaxian scout ship, let alone our battle fleet." Vexthor moved closer to the viewport, his claws clicking against the polished deck. And yet, the positioning is curious. "Computer, analyze fleet formation pattern." The AI responded immediately. "Formation analysis complete. Ships are arranged in a perfect dodecahedron lattice, maintaining positions with a variance of less than 1 meter despite stellar drift and gravitational influences. This level of precision exceeds predicted capabilities of recorded human technology from any era." A junior officer approached, offering a data crystal. "Admiral, the Council's colonization fleet will arrive within 48 hours. They expect this sector to be cleared for the new hyperspace route." Vexthor accepted the crystal, but his eyes remained fixed on the ancient fleet. Something about these ships bothered him. Their presence here was an impossibility. Their formation defied physics, and yet his superiors saw them as nothing more than space debris to be cleared away. "Launch probe droids," he ordered. "Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about these vessels before we begin disposal procedures." As the probes deployed, their silver forms gliding toward the human ships, Naira's instruments detected something unexpected. "Sir, I'm reading power signatures. Extremely faint, but present throughout the fleet. These ships, they're not dead." The Admiral's spines fully extended, a sign of alarm among his species. Impossible. Nothing could maintain power for 3 centuries, especially not human technology of that era. "The signatures are there, sir. And they're pulsing. Like a heartbeat." Before Vexthor could respond, the nearest probe reached the hull of what appeared to be the fleet's flagship. As its scanning beam touched the ancient metal, something extraordinary happened. The probe's signal winked out. Then another. And another. Across the void, tiny lights began to flicker to life across the hulls of the human vessels, like stars emerging at dusk. A low vibration, more felt than heard, rippled through space. "Sir," Naira's voice trembled slightly, "I'm detecting energy buildups throughout the fleet. The patterns, they're unlike anything in our database." Vexthor watched as more systems activated across the ancient vessels, his contempt gradually giving way to unease. He had served the Empire for over a century, had seen technologies from 100 worlds, but nothing quite like this. The human ships now pulsed with a soft blue light, their perfect formation suddenly seeming less like abandoned wreckage and more like a carefully laid trap. As if responding to his thoughts, a massive energy signature bloomed from the fleet's flagship, and a transmission cut through all Xylaxian communication channels. Unauthorized presence DDTTTE. Activation protocols INITIATED. This is Automated Defense Fleet SIG May 7. UAVENTERED restricts ACC2R with draw IMMEDIA. Eloi. The message repeated in every known galactic language, its source impossible to trace or block. Vex Thor stood frozen, watching as the ancient human fleet began to awaken fully, their supposed primitive technology revealing itself to be something far more sophisticated and far more dangerous than anyone in the Empire had imagined. They had made a terrible mistake. These weren't relics to be cleared away. They were guardians. And they had just woken them up. The bridge of the stellar dominance erupted into chaos as warning signals blared across every console. Admiral Vex Thor's command staff scrambled to analyze the awakening human fleet, their earlier dismissiveness replaced by growing concern. Multiple energy signatures detected, Naira reported, her tentacles now moving with urgent precision. The human vessels are generating quantum fields that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. They're creating some kind of synchronized defense grid. Vex Thor watched as geometric patterns of energy began forming between the ancient ships, connecting them in a web of brilliant blue light. His tactical training told him to retreat, but pride and curiosity kept his fleet in position. "Open a channel," he commanded. "Let's see if these automated systems can be reasoned with." Before his communications officer could comply, a holographic figure materialized on the bridge. A human female, her form translucent and tinged with blue light. She wore what appeared to be a military uniform from Earth's past, her bearing straight and professional. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, Artificial Intelligence Custodian of Defense Fleet Sigma-7. The hologram announced. "Your presence here violates the Protected Sectors Accord of 2157. You will withdraw immediately." Vex Thor's spines rippled with indignation. "This sector falls under Xylaxian jurisdiction. We have no record of any such accord, and we do not recognize human authority in this region. Your fleet will be removed for the greater good of galactic development." The hologram's expression remained neutral, but her voice carried an edge of warning. "You fail to understand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. The Protected Sectors Accord was established by the human race to prevent exactly this kind of territorial expansion. These ships are not relics. They are guardians, placed here to protect developing civilizations from exploitation." Across the void, more systems activated throughout the human fleet. Panels shifted on the massive vessels, revealing weapon ports that had been invisible to initial scans. But instead of primitive railguns, they housed technology that made Naira gasp in disbelief. "Sir, those are quantum phase cannons, but that's impossible. Even we only developed that technology 50 years ago. These ships are centuries old." The holographic Admiral Chen smiled slightly. Humanity learned early in its development that appearing primitive could be a significant tactical advantage. These ships were designed and built with technology far beyond what we showed to the galaxy. They were placed here, and in other sectors, as silent guardians while humanity appeared to struggle with basic spaceflight. Vex Thor's tactical display suddenly lit up with targeting locks from the human fleet. Every Xylaxian vessel was covered by multiple weapons, their supposedly superior defenses already penetrated by scanning systems that shouldn't exist. A clever deception, Vex Thor admitted, his pride warring with his growing respect. But why? Why maintain this facade of primitiveness while possessing such advanced technology? To see who would try to take advantage of those they perceived as weak, Chen replied. To identify which civilizations would respect the rights of developing species and which would simply sweep them aside for their own benefit. Your empire, Admiral, has failed this test. More systems activated throughout the human fleet. What had appeared to be simple armor plating rippled and shifted, revealing layers of technology that defied Xylaxian understanding. The precise formation now seemed to pulse with power, each ship connected to the others in ways that suggested capabilities far beyond mere weapons. These vessels, Chen continued, carry within them the true history of human technological development. While we showed the galaxy our first stumbling steps into space, we were already walking among the stars. Each ship in this fleet is both guardian and archive, protecting not just developing worlds, but knowledge itself. Naira's instruments detected new energy signatures, patterns that suggested capabilities they had never imagined. Admiral, they're generating quantum fields unlike anything in our records. The power readings, they're reconfiguring local space-time itself. Vexthor watched as the human fleet's formation began to shift, the massive ships moving with impossible grace. What had seemed like simple geometric positioning was revealing itself to be something far more complex, a vast machine made of ships, each vessel a component in a system whose purpose they could only guess at. Your colonization fleet approaches, Chen stated. You have 1 hour to withdraw from this sector and inform them of its protected status. After that, we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why humanity chose to hide its true capabilities from the galaxy. Choose wisely, Admiral. The hologram faded, leaving the Xylaxian command staff in stunned silence. Before them, the ancient fleet continued its activation sequence, each passing moment revealing new layers of technology that shattered their understanding of human capabilities. Vexthor stood at his viewport, watching the dance of energy between the human ships, and realized that everything his civilization thought they knew about humanity had been carefully constructed misdirection. They hadn't discovered an abandoned fleet. They had stumbled into a trap centuries in the making, and his next decision would determine whether they learned why humans had gone to such lengths to hide their true power. Admiral Vexthor stood rigid as his command staff awaited his decision. The massive human fleet loomed before them, its true nature now evident. Not a collection of derelicts, but a carefully positioned web of advanced technology that had been waiting patiently for centuries. Sir, his tactical officer called out, the colonization fleet is maintaining their approach. They're requesting confirmation that the sector has been cleared. Before Vexthor could respond, the human ships began to move. Their formation shifted with fluid grace, each vessel precisely coordinated with its neighbors. The energy web connecting them pulsed brighter, and new structures emerged from what had appeared to be solid hull plating. Admiral Chen, Vexthor addressed the empty air, knowing the AI was monitoring them. You speak of protecting developing civilizations, yet you deceive the galaxy about your own capabilities. How can we trust your intentions? The hologram reappeared, but this time it was accompanied by a three-dimensional display that filled the bridge with images from countless worlds. Observe, Admiral. These are the civilizations we protect. Some are just discovering electricity. Others are taking their first steps into space. The images showed diverse species advancing, growing, developing without interference. Now, Chen continued, observe what happens to similar civilizations in Xylaxian-controlled space. New images appeared, worlds stripped of resources, species forced into servitude, cultures erased in the name of progress. Vexthor's spines drooped as he recognized scenes from his empire's civilization program. Your empire, Chen stated, like many before it, believes advancement must be guided by the strong. Humanity chose a different path. We remembered our own history, how close we came to destruction through similar thinking. We decided to ensure others would have the chance we nearly lost, the right to develop without interference. Suddenly, Naira's console erupted with new readings. Sir, the human fleet, they're manipulating quantum fields in ways that should be impossible. They're creating. She fell silent as space itself seemed to ripple around the ancient vessels. What had appeared to be simple ships were transforming, revealing layer after layer of technology that had been hidden beneath false hull plating and sensor-blocking fields. 3 centuries ago, Chen explained, humanity reached a crossroads. We could reveal our advancements and join the galactic community as we found it, or we could work in secret to change how that community functioned. We chose the harder path. The transformation continued. Equipment that appeared primitive and crude revealed itself to be merely the outer shell of systems, so advanced they bordered on the impossible. The nuclear drives were actually quantum slip space engines, disguised to appear primitive. The railguns housed temporal displacement weapons. Every seemingly outdated component served two purposes: disguise and defense. Your colonization fleet has 30 minutes remaining to alter course, Chen announced. We would prefer to resolve this peacefully. But make no mistake, these ships were built to enforce humanity's choice. We will not allow the strong to prey upon the developing. Not here, not anywhere we watch. Vexthor's tactical display showed the approaching colonization fleet, thousands of civilians, engineers, and their support vessels. His military training told him the human fleet was outnumbered. His instincts told him that wouldn't matter. What you're suggesting, he said slowly, would reshape the entire power structure of known space. The other empires would never accept. They already have, Chen interrupted. Similar holograms appeared, showing other fleets, other confrontations. You are not the first to discover one of our guardian fleets. Every major power has faced this choice. Some chose wisely. Others had to be convinced. The energy web between the human ships now pulsed with colors Vexthor's eyes couldn't properly process. Space itself seemed to bend around the fleet, suggesting capabilities that went far beyond weapons and shields. Your empire prides itself on learning from history, Chen said. Here is your chance to prove it. The colonization fleet approaches. Your time grows short. What future will you choose, Admiral? Will you be remembered as the one who learned wisdom, or as yet another example of pride before the fall? Vexthor looked at his crew, at the mighty ships under his command that suddenly seemed far less mighty, and at the ancient human fleet that had hidden world-shattering technology behind a mask of primitive simplicity. In that moment, he understood that this wasn't just a tactical decision. It was a test of his civilization's ability to grow beyond its assumptions. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of his fleet, but perhaps the future course of his entire empire. Vexthor made his decision. With seconds to spare, he transmitted the retreat order to the colonization fleet. The massive convoy of ships slowly began their course correction, their trajectories arcing away from the protected sector. On his bridge, the tension remained palpable. A wise choice, Admiral, Chen's hologram said. Now perhaps you're ready to understand the true scope of what humanity has built. The space around the human fleet shimmed, and suddenly hundreds of new signatures appeared on Naira's instruments. What they had thought was one fleet was actually just a small part of a vast network, most of it hidden in dimensions their sensors couldn't normally detect. Sir, Naira whispered, these readings. The network extends throughout the galaxy. Thousands of ships, all connected, all watching. They've been there all along, and we never knew. Chen nodded. What you see is the Guardian Network. While humanity played the role of newcomers to space travel, we were building this, an invisible shield around every developing civilization in the galaxy. But protection was only part of our mission. The holographic display expanded, showing the true nature of the human ships. They weren't just warships. They were vast archives, libraries, and laboratories. Each vessel contained centuries of human scientific knowledge, cultural history, and technological advancement. Your scans detected nuclear drives and railguns because that's what we wanted you to see, Chen explained. The truth is far more interesting. Each ship in this fleet is powered by zero-point energy matrices, capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Our weapons don't fire projectiles. They alter probability itself. Vexthor watched in amazement as one of the human ships demonstrated, creating a small-scale replica of its systems. What appeared to be primitive metal armor was actually layers of quantum-entangled metamaterials. The clunky engines were sophisticated space-time manipulation devices. Even the rust on their hulls was artificial, a carefully crafted disguise. But why? He asked. Why maintain this deception for centuries? Your technology could have dominated the galaxy. Precisely why we hid it, Chen replied. Humanity's history taught us that true advancement comes not from domination, but from understanding. Each species must find its own path, make its own mistakes, learn its own lessons. Our role is not to rule, but to preserve that opportunity. The holographic display shifted again, showing hundreds of developing civilizations. Some were just discovering fire. Others were launching their first satellites. All were being quietly protected by humanity's hidden fleets. 3 centuries ago, Chen continued, we discovered something remarkable, a pattern in how civilizations develop. Those that evolved naturally, without interference, almost always reached the same conclusion we did. They chose to protect rather than exploit, to guide rather than dominate. But civilizations that were rushed, pushed, or controlled by others became like us, Vexthor finished quietly. Like the Xylaxian Empire. Yes, your people were themselves victims of interference, your natural development disrupted by another advanced species. That interference shaped your society's values, led you to believe that strength gives the right to control others' destiny. Naira's instruments detected new energy signatures as the human fleet continued its transformation. Hidden compartments opened, revealing technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. These ships, Chen gestured to the fleet, carry within them not just weapons and shields, but the sum total of human knowledge and achievement. They are seeds waiting to be planted. When a civilization reaches the right point in their development, they don't just gain our protection, they gain access to our libraries, our history, our understanding. And that point is determined by choices like the one I just made, Vexthor realized. Exactly. Today, you chose wisdom over power, understanding over dominance. That choice has consequences beyond just this moment. The holographic display focused on the Xylaxian Empire's territory, highlighting thousands of worlds under their control. Your empire stands at a crossroads, Admiral. You can continue on your current path, facing increasing resistance from our guardian fleets, or you can help us break the cycle. Your empire can learn what humanity learned. That true power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them grow. The knowledge in these ships isn't just about technology. It's about choices, about understanding the responsibility that comes with advancement. Vexthor looked at his crew, seeing the same realization dawn in their eyes. They had thought they were dealing with a primitive fleet, an obstacle to be cleared. Instead, they had stumbled upon something far more significant, a test, a lesson, and an opportunity. The ancient human ships hung in space before them, no longer pretending to be relics. Their true nature now revealed, they represented not just military power, but a fundamentally different way of existing in the galaxy, a way that Vexthor's people had never considered possible. But now perhaps they would. 6 months after the encounter with the human Guardian fleet, Admiral Vexthor stood before the Xylaxian High Council. The vast chamber, with its soaring crystalline arches and floating platforms, held representatives from every corner of their empire. Today, they would decide their civilization's future. The evidence is undeniable. Vexthor concluded his presentation. Humanity hasn't just been protecting developing civilizations. They've been guiding the entire galaxy toward a more sustainable future. Their guardian fleets are merely the visible part of a plan centuries in the making. The council chamber erupted in discussion as holographic displays showed the extent of human influence. Hundreds of species, previously thought primitive, were revealed to be under humanity's protection. The supposedly simple humans had created a network of guardians that spanned the galaxy, hiding their true capabilities behind a mask of technological inferiority. High Counselor Zixra leaned forward, her ancient scales shimmering. And they offer us access to their knowledge. All of it. In exchange for what? The answer came not from Vexthor, but from Admiral Chen's hologram, which materialized in the center of the chamber. In exchange for understanding, your empire stands at a pivotal moment. You can continue trying to dominate, or you can join us in protecting the natural development of younger civilizations. The chamber filled with images of worlds under Xylaxian control, worlds where development had been forced, cultures disrupted, societies transformed to serve imperial interests. Alongside them appeared images of protected worlds, where civilizations grew at their own pace, finding their own paths to the stars. We offer you more than just technology, Chen continued. We offer you the chance to heal the wounds in your own society. Wounds inflicted when your own development was disrupted by outside interference. The knowledge in our ships includes the full history of humanity's journey, including our mistakes, our wars, and how we learned to move beyond them. Vexthor watched as understanding dawned across the faces of the council members. The humans hadn't just built better weapons or faster ships. They had created a system to break the cycle of exploitation that had dominated galactic politics for millennia. Already, he added, changes are spreading through our territories. Worlds we thought primitive have revealed remarkable potential when left to develop naturally. Our scientists are discovering that many of our advanced technologies are actually inferior to what these civilizations might have developed on their own. The High Council chambers resonated with a new energy as the implications became clear. The humans hadn't needed to conquer the galaxy. They had reshaped it through patience, wisdom, and carefully measured revelation of their true capabilities. Your empire, Chen said, can be part of this transformation. The Guardian fleets will share their knowledge, help you understand how to foster growth rather than control it. In time, your own ships might join ours in protecting the next generation of spacefaring species. High Counselor Zixra rose, her decision made. We have lived too long believing that advancement must be guided by force. Perhaps it is time we learned a different way. She turned to face the assembled council. I move that we accept humanity's offer, that we learn from their example, and join in their mission. The vote was unanimous. As the council session ended, Vexthor stood with Chen's hologram, watching the celebrations begin. You knew, didn't you? He asked. You knew that once we understood, we would choose to change. Chen smiled. Humanity learned long ago that the strongest walls are the ones people choose not to break. We could have conquered the galaxy with our technology, but instead we chose to protect it, to guide it, to help it grow. Now your people will do the same. Above them, through the crystal dome of the council chamber, stars twinkled in the night sky. Somewhere out there, humanity's guardian fleets continued their eternal vigil, watching over countless developing civilizations, but they were no longer alone. The Xylaxian Empire, once dedicated to domination, would now join them as protectors. And in the depths of space, another ancient human fleet waited, ready to teach the same lesson to the next civilization that thought technological superiority gave them the right to control others' destiny. The galaxy was changing, one choice at a time, guided by the invisible hand of a species that had learned that true power lies not in domination, but in protection. The future was no longer about who could build the strongest weapons or conquer the most worlds. It was about who could foster the most growth, protect the most potential, and help the galaxy's younger species find their own paths to the stars. Humanity had chosen this role millennia ago, and now finally, others were beginning to understand why.